Just sit back and relax as we are about to begin. This session is streamed on our Facebook and YouTube accounts. For more details on FIC, please check social media accounts on Facebook, www.facebook.com/filmindustryconferenceph, Twitter @FICPH1, and Instagram @FilmIndustryConferencePH. To register for FIC public sessions and master classes, visit our website at fdcp.ph/FIC. Film Industry Conference Online 2020 is presented by Film Development Council of the Philippines in partnership with Full Circle Lab, supported by International Film Commission partners, Korean Film Council, Singapore Film Commission, National Film Development Corporation Malaysia, and Film Philippines Office, with international partners Netflix, CFIC Lab, Locarno Open Doors, IFFR Pro Rotterdam Lab, Asian Shadows, and Raven Banner Entertainment. With local film festival partners, CineKasimanwa Western Visayas Film Festival, Cine Filipino Film Festival, Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival, Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino, and QCinema International Film Festival. Special thanks to Ortigas Cinemas. The Film Industry Conference, or FIC, first conducted by the Film Development Council of the Philippines in 2017, aims to bring together international experts and stakeholders to share and discuss the latest trends, opportunities, platforms, and cooperation that Filipino producers and filmmakers can explore for the development, production, and distribution of their projects with the intent of crossing beyond local borders. As the Film Industry Conference shifts to an online platform this 2020, the Film Development Council of the Philippines is conducting the Film Industry Conference Online 2020, featuring local and international partners with a goal to continue the synergy between international experts, professionals, and stakeholders even online. This will be a great opportunity to give a platform and discuss the best practices, challenges, opportunities, and new norms of the industry given the current situation in a global pandemic. The pandemic necessitated the cancellation of live events and physical mass gatherings across the world. Film festivals and markets, including the major festivals and the independent ones, have initiated to migrate their programs virtually. Let's analyze the transitions made from an actual live event to a virtual event, from the process, changes, successes, noteworthy lessons learned, and the future of the Philippine film festivals from our very own local film festivals. Our moderator for this panel is a filmmaker, multidisciplinary artist, producer, and educator who is at the forefront of supporting regional and marginalized Filipino films since the 90s. A two-time Gawad Urian nominee and three-time winner of Gawad CCP for independent film, his films, art, and designs have been screened in 5 continents and more than 30 countries all over the world. He has been consultant of the cinema program of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts and sat as NCCA's representative to the first and second Cinemalaya Film Festival and the board of then Film Development Foundation of the Philippines. Founder of Experimento Festival of Film, Video, and New Media, the NCCA Film Club, and CineKasimanwa Western Visayas Film Festival. Regional Manager of Cinemalaya in the Visayas 2019, co-founder of Bakunawa Cinema of the Young and the Western
10
Visayas
seconds.
Film Grants Program, the first and only region-based film grants in the country. Please welcome
Okay, here we go.
Elvert
3,
Bañares.
2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Session 6 of the Film Industry Conference of the Film Development Council of the Philippines. In this session, we will be having a backstage access to our notable film festivals in the country. This talk is aimed to get answers and perspectives to this question: how are film festivals migrating virtually? And what will be the future of film festivals from the perspectives of our local film festival directors? So let's start. We have gathered a top-notch and widely experienced panel for this afternoon. So let's get to meet them, starting with Fdcp Chair and CEO Liza Diño is the Chairperson and CEO of the Film Development Council of the Philippines, the agency in charge of developing programs to develop the local film industry and promote it for global collaboration and growth. She is also an award-winning film, TV, and stage actress who has appeared in numerous independent and commercial films. As chairperson and CEO, she is hard at work in promoting the country's export film services, creating more opportunities for Philippine cinema to be exposed to the world, and developing policies for the growth of the film and audiovisual industry. She is a member of the board of director of the Asian Film Commission Network and an active collaborator at the ASEAN ROK Film Organization and the BPX Best Practice Exchange, an initiative that brings together heads of film agencies from around the world to brainstorm on best practices in public funding for filmmaking. Please welcome Chair Liza Diño.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I guess this is the perfect place to say, totoo po, tuloy ang Pista 2020.
Ilagari si Chair Lisa, galing pa yan sa isang session. Our next guest, thank you Chair Lisa, our next guest is no other than the film festival director of Cinemalaya, Mr. Chris Millado. He assumed festival directorship of the Cinemalaya Philippine Independent Film Festival in 2015. He is a board member of the Cinema Evaluations Board under the Film Development Council of the Philippines. He currently serves as the Vice President and Artistic Director of the Cultural Center of the Philippines and oversees the artistic programs in the performing arts, literature, cinema, visual arts, including the artistic season of the 9 resident companies of the CCP. He recently led the center in its shift to online programming during the lockdown caused by the pandemic. Some of the festivals he has curated include the annual Pasinaya CCP Open House Festival, Rizalina Festival of Arts and Ideas, International Theater Festival, National Theater Festival, among others. An accomplished stage director and playwright, his works have been produced in Manila, San Francisco, Chicago, Hawaii, and New York, Mai Theater, and the Juilliard School. After graduating from the Theater Arts program at the University of the Philippines, he earned a master's degree in performance studies from the New York University through a Fulbright Hays Scholarship. He has taught courses in theater arts, performance studies, and Philippine studies. He spearheads the Organization of Filipino-American Theater Companies in the U.S. He also served as Associate Artistic Director of the Tanghalang Pilipino. He has served a 2-time recipient of the Rockefeller Residency in Villaggio, Italy, a fellow of the Salzburg Global Seminar on the Performing Arts. He had fellowship with the DeVos Institute for Arts Management at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Director Chris Millado.
Magandang hapon sa lahat. Elvert, maraming salamat. And fellow panelists, Chair Lisa, looking forward to this conversation. Tamang-tama, katapos lang namin mag-evaluate sa recently concluded Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival online. And I'm excited to engage in this conversation. Looking forward.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Chris, at magandang hapon. Our next guest is no other than Madam Maria Madonna Tarrayo. She is the CEO and president of one of the top multimedia production houses in the country, including UXS Incorporated, Unitel Straight Shooters. She graduated cum laude from the University of the Philippines in Diliman with a major in broadcast communications. Before joining the advertising industry, she was a producer, writer in a TV network, handling educational, news, public affairs, and sports shows. In March 1994, Unitel tapped her to become one of its production managers, and since then she has risen the ranks from production manager to an executive producer to client service head to general manager to COO and now president and CEO. She has led teams in both local and regional productions, and at present she is also the head of the Commercial Production Houses Group and chairman of ASAP, Advertising Suppliers Association of the Philippines. Ms. Madonna's experience spans multimedia platforms, proving that creativity and business is a viable mix. She has produced countless award-winning films, online content, and TV commercials, here and abroad. The films are varied in genre, like 100, which is a drama, Woman in the Septic Tank, which is a parody for Cinemalaya, I Do Bidu Bidu, the Apple musical, Whistleblower, political drama, Abomination, psychological thriller, and the first ever Fox Philippines film, Meladicto. She is also the festival director of Cine Filipino, film festival which has produced award-winning films. She is part of the TV shows such as Adventure Your Way for Sony and AXN, Coke Studios for Coca-Cola Philippines, Ride and Seek for the ANE Network, Amazing Food Challenge for the Scripps Network Singapore, Project Runway Philippines, My Philippines for CNN Philippines, Kano Loves Pinay for TV, to name a few. On top of this, she also teaches visual subjects in film and marketing under the digital filmmaking at the De La Salle College of St. Benilde. She describes teaching as a late calling and loves the idea of learning from her students as well. Outside work, Miss Madonna loves family, friends, films, television, coffee, wine, food, fashion, music, books, and social media. Sounds fun. Please welcome Madame Madonna Tarrayo.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon, and I'm happy to be part of this. I'd like to thank Fdcp and Chair Liza for inviting me and give light to this very relevant topic, the backstage access to festivals. Hope we can have this very engaging discussion. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Ms. Madonna. And our fourth panelist for this afternoon is Director Ed Lehano. He is the Festival Director of QCinema, International Film Festival, and currently heads the Quezon City Film Development Commission. He is a senior faculty member and former director of the University of the Philippines Film Institute, where he completed his master's degree in broadcast communication. He completed his diploma course in filmmaking from New York University in 1996. Other academic credentials would include former academic director of the International Academy of Film and TV and former vice president of SILEC Asia Pacific from 2009 to 2012. As a member of NetPAC, he has been a jury member in various international film festivals, including Busan, Rotterdam, Singapore, Tallinn, Vesoul, Istanbul, among others. As writer and director, he has 4 feature films to his credit, including QWERTY in 2012 and Swipe in 2017. He's also co-producer of some of QCinema's feature, to include Women of the Weeping River, Balanginga, The Howling Wind, Cleaners, and Babae at Baril. Please welcome Director Ed Lehano.
Thank you, Elvert, and good afternoon, co-panelists Chris, Madonna, and Chair Liza. And good afternoon also to all the online viewers here. And it's great to be part of this panel, FIC panel, and I'm happy to share my backstage insights for this afternoon's topic.
Thank you, Direct Ed. I like the backstage insights. Very nice. And now you see the four panelists in one frame. This is quite a rare occasion to have them in one frame. So let's start the ball rolling. Our first question should be, how each festival, initial plans, I'm sure you all have initial plans for 2020. How was it affected by the pandemic? What has changed? And what new things were introduced to your festival? Maybe we should start with the ladies first. Can I start with Miss Madonna?
How we were actually set to screen the films in May. That was the programming schedule. It was May. Because the filmmakers actually were chosen last year, and then these 8 films, they were given the grants, and they were supposed to start production. Some of them were able to start filming, but some of them were in the middle of pre-pro, and then the pandemic happened, and that was what mid-March. So everything just had to stop because one, we did at that time we really everything was so uncertain. We didn't know until when we were going to be on lockdown, until when everything is going to be closed, the extent of the pandemic and how it's going to affect the entire industry. In fact, it's not only the festivals, but the industry in general, the film industry and the entertainment industry and even the advertising industry. So everything was affected. So at this point, everything is at a standstill. So the films are there, but nothing has moved yet because we are currently assessing as to how we can pivot. And we are still also waiting for the cinemas if there's word that if they will open, because you see festivals, I think for me there's nothing like the cinematic experience. But that being said, we don't also have to discount that there are also other platforms where these films can also be enjoyed by the target market or the audiences. So we are at that stage. No, we are waiting. We are planning, but we are also waiting so that if we can do both, like if we can do a limited screening in the cinemas if it opens, and at the same time migrate to our digital assets. Because Cine Filipino is actually in partnership with Signal Entertainment, and they have their own platform, which is Signal Play. So technically, you can migrate it to that, but then again, how do you now compensate for the recoupment of the investors of the films? You give a grant, but they look for producers. So there has to be that. We have to think about how the filmmakers are going to recoup the investment that they put in. So that we are at that stage. We are in discussion kung paano namin isusulat. So that's as far as Cinepilip is concerned.
So before I go to Chair Liza and Sir Chris, because katatapos lang ng Cinemalay, I'm sure Sir Chris has a lot to say about this. I first go to Direct Ed, because Direct Ed, yours is still upcoming pa. How are the preparations for this?
Upcoming under a cloud of uncertainty, but we are good to go. Keeping in mind everything will be okay by late November. For the past 7 years, we've been always held during October, but for this special canceled year, 2020, we're moving it to the last week of November in a different, reimagined, scaled down QCinema with an online and theatrical component. So we will announce in the coming days the actual dates of QCinema in November. We're keeping our fingers crossed. But before we started thinking that 2020 is canceled, late last year, we already chose our 3 films to produce, supposedly for 2020, and then COVID happened. We're parking those 3 films for now as we pivot this year in November to to a non-competition, all-exhibition programming of local and international films, both online and theatrical. So, amidst this uncertainty, we're waiting for forthcoming announcements from the task force. And God, wish us luck.
My God, Eric, and I could feel you from bursting out of the screen. Oh my God. Oh. I'll go before I go to chair. I'll go to Sir Chris because I'm sure Sir Chris has a lot to say about the experiences of Cinemalaya. What do we learn from the Cinemalaya online platform, Sir Chris?
We had plenty of learnings, but as early as January, as everyone I'm sure knows and remembers, we had to immediately decide on the shift to online platform. Remember, Cinemalaya's main attraction are the competition films, the 10 full-length competition films as well as the short films. This is the draw for most of our audiences, if not all of our audiences. So, kagaya ng sinabi ni Madonna and kay Eden, all our productions were caught flat-footed, no? Dahil they were already either some were already in post-prod, some were in the middle of the shoot, some were about to start their shoot, no? So immediately, because of the lockdown, all of these had to be suspended. So can you imagine the gap this produced in terms of the content that was supposed to compose Cinemalaya? Happily, we had a short films, which is a different condition altogether because short films are accepted by Cinemalaya as already finished products and finished content. So that's one. Second, remember, Cinemalaya also draws much of its appeal from the multi-platform activities. So it's not just about the screening, it's about people gathering at the CCP, doing workshops, meeting up, looking at exhibits. So that's the multi-platform appeal of the festival, which of course, again, if you think of online, how does one translate this kind of energy online? So immediately, those were the conditions that we needed to think about when we decided to go online. Obviously, the full-length films, in consideration of production and the challenges posed by the protocols, could not push through, and we had to decide on programming it for 2021. And this gave the opportunity for our short films to shine. And that is quite a very interesting story because that is one of the breakthroughs, I guess, of this year's Cinemalaya Festival, the way it gave the much needed and the much deserved attention that short film as a genre in itself, and our short filmmakers, the much needed attention and focus. And happily, it translated into a lot of viewership and a lot of support from our subscribers. And happily, it also got very good reviews. No, a lot of these. Thank you, Ed. A lot of these films went through your festivals first, and then thank you for being generous and sharing it with Cinemalaya. But I guess this is how our festivals cooperate. No, we can never give enough exposure, especially to our indie film content. So the more festivals they are on, the better. The more audiences they reach, the better. So yes, so we did go online. And would you like to hear now? This is the time to talk about learnings, Elvert.
Yes, sir. Why not?
But
yes,
okay.
Why not? Before I go to Chair Liza.
Yeah. So I guess generally the learnings. One is about timely information. Remember that unlike the live screenings, and maybe Sina Ed and Sina Madonna, when you do your festivals, you could actually start learning this so you don't have to spend so much money on market research. But online, we learned that we really need to be targeted about. We can just throw out like very generic information out there. It needs to be targeted in specific segments. And we practically focused on two segments in terms of audiences. One are the 25 and below, and the 25 and above. Because apparently 25 and below are the people who would like to, who love the content, but most of the time they're not willing to pay. Because there's been a glut in terms of online content that are delivered for free. So they, they're there, uh, happily accepting all information, but they still think twice in terms of subscribing and dishing out a few pesos for the subscription. The 25 and above segment are people who are willing to pay, who are already very convinced about independent film. But the thing is, you have to usher them into the online experience. You have to make it as easy as possible. So yung parang ginagawa ng ibang mga yung Mac and Apple, no, yung just play it kind of philosophy na wala nang maraming pasikot-sikot. The easier they get to the experience, the better, and they're willing to pay. So we targeted on those two in terms of communications and strategy. So we bombarded our 25 and below with an awareness campaign, hopefully translate them into the behavior of paying subscribers. And we did an aggressive campaign of explaining how easy it is to go online. Of course, the
Circus,
challenge was the reality. Yeah. Sorry,
So, Chris, I'll
Elvert.
go back
Yeah.
to that in a while because I want to touch on the short films because that's part of what we're gonna talk, and yung
Yes.
age, yung audience ano natin because may ang gusto natin i-target mga ang magbabayad yung mga hindi ano sa experts sa online, yung mga experts sa online ayaw naman magbayad. So, but before that, I
Yeah.
go to Chair Liza. Chair
Yes,
Liza,
please.
how is the help right now? Because I understand that FDCP is helping all these film festivals. So how do we shift now the help now that all these live screenings and events are not viable anymore? Ano ang naitutulong ng FDCP when it comes to this shift sa online platform?
We are creating our own platform so that we can accommodate all of these online film festivals. And the first to be accommodated by this platform is Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino. Initially, I share the sentiments of all our panelists. We didn't know if we were going to push through or not because, what's unique about PPP is not only it is a festival, it is a distribution strategy. It is a distribution strategy for all independently produced commercial films to have a platform for a nationwide distribution. So not only is the cinemas identifying the 920, having the 920 cinemas accommodate the films, the new films, the new slate of films for PPP, it's a non-negotiable, So ang hirap kasi parang how are we going to support our producers, monetize and recoup and really earn if we don't have the cinemas and if the cinemas are still closed? So we really had to strategize for a while. Siguro up until June, everything was on hold and we were still hoping that we can proceed with the normal way we conduct PPP. But when you actually realize that it looks like the cinemas are going to be closed and we have to reimagine, we have to find a way on how PPP can still be relevant to our audiences and to the industry. So in June, I think late June, we had a meeting. So I gathered all of the local independent film festivals and ask for their support. Is it possible for us to work together in putting together a lineup of films that will be composed of previously screened films from your respective festival? That the direction for PPP this year is not really to provide a distribution platform for new films, but again, to go back to that spirit of what Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino is. It's a festival. It's a festival of films. It's a feast of Filipino films. And even if these films have been shown already, but if you put it all in one platform, it doesn't matter if it's Cine Filipino, Cinemalaya, QCinema, Farm, MMFF. There's this one platform that will put together everything, and that germ of an idea actually bloomed into this solidarity event that would bring everyone together, not just the local independent film festivals, but also the regional film festivals all over the country. And I think this is an advantage as a government agency, because you really have to be, you have an access to the different partners that FDCP has engaged with through the years. And we're very excited. It's all coming together. And I want to thank the panelists right now for their support. And also, of course, you, Elvert, I mean, thank you so much. Dahil yung mga regional film festivals, our regional film festivals are also participating in this. And just like what Cinemalaya did, the star of PPP this year are the never before seen films, are short films also. We have this partnership with the Quezon City Film Commission. It's called Cinemaria. It's a partnership with the DILG. And for some reason, it's been delayed. It's been we were supposed to do it in I think in 2019, but there has been some technical problems, of course, with the partnership and all that, the release of funds. But it made for a very it became like an advantage for a lot of the filmmakers, because it allowed for them to really revisit their films. And we're so proud with this beautiful 12 films that will premiere on Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino.
Mhm. Thank you, Chair Liza. I would like to take the cue from Sir Chris with regards to the short films, because it seems to me, Chair, and all our panelists, that whether we like to articulate this or not, it seems that the short films is kind of saving us all in one way or the other. And most of the time, this is the genre or the category that we have been neglecting in the past, no? Para siya nagiging side show for the features to happen. I'd like to ask from each of our festival directors, how has short films helped us now? And now that you want content, it seems to me also that everybody, including FDCP, na kasasabi lang ni Chair, is going to the provinces. And now they're trying to get content from our regional film festivals and filmmakers. How has this symbiosis helped you? And how have you been doing it, especially kay Direct Ed and kay Miss Madonna, upcoming yung mga festivals? How do you do the processes of programming? Maybe I'll start with you, Direct Ed.
Okay. The short film form, rightly or wrongly, is very friendly for online screenings as a platform. As we know, they seldom have distributors. People have reluctance to pay for short films. And so when it comes to programming for online content, short films are the saving grace for how festivals have transitioned. And it's easy to produce. It's a launching pad for new filmmakers. And I like what you said, how short films have saved the day, especially this year, including for Cinemalaya and also for PPP for this year. It's too bad we're not proceeding with short films to be produced this year because of ongoing protocols. But we promise to do online screenings of award-winning shorts from our Asian neighbors and from the best shorts from all over the world this November.
But why not get local, Direct Ed? Because there's a bunch of local films that will fit the programming styles of QCinema. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm just asking.
Yes. Then, naunahan na kami ng Cinemalaya at ng PPP. So,
Ang dami pa.
marami pa, yes.
Marami pa.
We're
Oo.
we're definitely having a program for local films.
Can I go to
Thank you
Miss Madonna?
for underscoring that.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that offline. Miss Madonna, how about Cine Filipino? Because I understand you don't show other short films apart from the ones you only produce.
No, Cine Filipino, ever since it began, we do not give grants to short films,
Correct.
but we do have a short film competition where students or even established directors can actually submit, and then we choose 10 finalists. So that's every city Filipino. So there's always a short film category. In fact, during our opening ceremony last year, what we showed were shorts. These were 60
Correct.
second short films. And then
Correct,
aside
correct.
from the 60-second short films, we have the mas mahaba namang mga short films na hanggang 20 minutes. So we had that last year. And this year, we already chose actually our finalists. We have our short films already submitted by students, established directors. So we don't categorize them anymore, but we just go by the content and by, of course, the quality of the short film, the story, the variety. So we are just waiting as well to program that. And if at all, if there's one thing we learned from Cinemalaya, which also Ed mentioned, the digital platform is a very, very friendly platform for short films because it's short. So, hindi siya yung tipong, you have to sit there and watch the entire 2 hours kung ayaw mo, di ba? And there's always a market for short films, especially for students. And they love it. They love watching short films. And that is actually one avenue where you will discover new filmmakers, new producers, new actors, di ba? Sometimes that becomes their kick-off as a filmmaker, and then they move on to feature length. So it's really a very unique kind of film because especially locally, kasi ang dami-daming gumagawa ng short films sa Pilipinas.
Yes,
And
ang dami.
based to the submissions that we get. There was one time our submissions were like 200 short films. We had to watch, and then choose. And you can only choose 20. You can't choose all of them. So there. So we're really supporting the short film, and we will do that every single day.
Thank you, Mama Donna. I'll go to Sir Chris because, Sir Chris, we were very surprised by the variety and the diversity of the programming of short films of Cinemalaya. Ang dami. And and I'm really curious, Sir Chris, kung was it really a success because some of which they have to pay, no, online, and then some of which are free also. So ano yung mga success stories natin from out of those programming, and how did you do that?
Actually, it wasn't. As I said, we were programming, presuming that the short films will be part of our usual competition. So when we remember Cinemalaya, like as Madonna mentioned, accepts applications for finished films. So we receive at least 300 new titles of short films to be considered for the competition section, and we could only choose 10 for the competition. And then the selection committee is highly encouraged, but there are more than 10 that dapat daw na to be screened dapat for exhibition. So that's why we came up with another 20 titles for exhibition out of competition based on the initial submissions. And then we have remember we also have the CCP Gawad, which is like the platform for emerging films, and a lot of there's sections for a lot of experimentation, animation, documentary genre, and so on. And that in itself also exhibited at least 100 titles. No? So this added to the whole rich content of short films, and also widened the arena in terms of interaction between emerging filmmakers, established filmmakers, student filmmakers, experimental filmmakers, and so on. So that made that accounted into like a very rich brew of content for Cinemalaya. Revenue-wise, as mentioned by Ed, short films lend itself very well to online screening because of the kind of time commitment that it usually asks. It doesn't require for you to sit down for an half hours, but it's sort of rating your own different titles. So that helped a lot. Cinemalaya this year, we targeted at least we said if we could, we would be happy if we are able to target around 1.5 to 2 million in terms of revenue because we really brought down the subscription levels down. And the subscriptions reached 2,100,000 something.
Wow.
So we breached.
Wow.
Only about a little bit. And the most amazing thing, of course, are subscriptions. Altogether, we had like about 17,000 views, which is amazing, in terms of the films. So that tells us that it looks like that the audiences or the short films have found its audiences. And these audiences seem to engage with it in a very vibrant way online. So that's one of the things we're going to consider for our next season. Doesn't mean that short films will be online. It might only online. It might be that short films will be both on site, which is on big screens, and can also be experienced online.
Thank you, Circus. Two things. No, I think I've noticed that this year you started with the curated section for Gawad Alternativo, which is not usually like that in the past, and also now ang mga taga-regions will have the chance to watch Cinemalaya and not wait for it until the theatrical run comes.
Yes, definitely. That's one of the things that we immediately realize in terms of potential. That now there's much more access to the festival. This time it will. Remember, Cinemalaya festival goers are also impeded by the rainy season because if you're from Quezon City and it starts to rain, people are discouraged to go all the way to the CCP.
You can just
but now it's not only about reaching out to the rest of Metro Manila, but also our regional audiences. And
Thank
even
you,
worldwide audiences, because we partnered with I1 TV and TFC Global for global distribution.
Thank you, Sir Chris. Now, Chair Liza, because of all these mga short films, I see the importance of providing support to our producers and content creators or filmmakers. What has the FDCP have planned for them? Have you made it easier for them to shoot? Any news from your end, Chair?
Just like what I said, with FDCP, short films are a priority, and Cinemalaya is actually a platform and an initiative of the DILG, the FDCP, together with our government partners to really champion and put the short form in the forefront. We were able to give a support, 100,000 pesos each for each of the filmmaker to create their own films, to produce their own films. And the importance of introducing labs was something that we really pushed in terms of our filmmakers. And this Cinemalaya is a platform that has all that. We had a short film lab, from a production film lab to an editing lab, going to a pitching, and then until they started production. We also did Cine Spectra last year. It's also a short film festival. We also had Cine Kabataan, which is also a short film festival. And this year we have a partnership with CHED. So the Commission on Higher Education is launching this partnership with us towards the beneficiaries of the tertiary education. So itong Unifast, we are giving support to the stories of those who were able to receive support from the free education, free tertiary education, and they will also go through that lab. Cine Kabataan, for this year is also going through a lab. So we just actually announced last week the 20 finalists of Cine Kabataan 4. We're going to have the next months will be all about labs for them, including a safe filming lab. So we want to make sure that, before they start their production, they also know the protocols that have to be in place before as they proceed with their shoots. We're also given an extra 25,000 pesos for them, kahit papano, to just help them, to help compensate for the cost associated with protocols. So these are the initiatives of the FDCP when it comes to really supporting short filmmaking. And of course, our usual support for all of the regional film festivals all over the Philippines, ang filmmakers natin are always most of them are using the short form as their format for their submissions of films.
I'm glad you mentioned, Chair, about the support, because an added money is very important sa production, hindi ba? Kasi if you give a grant, for example, of 100,000 or 50,000 or 200,000, para sa film yun. Hindi kinonsider nang nag-apply siya ng grant para sa pandemic at sa mga protocols na ito. How do you compute the amount that you give to each of these filmmakers as far as that is concerned? Yung aspect of
well, in terms of the amount of support, it goes through an approval. So the 100,000 is a seed money for us to support these short films, and because of the COVID, we added like 25,000 more, as 25% of that. But actually, we're not just so we're giving the 25,000, but we're also giving free masks, foot bath mats. We're also, because we know that these are aspiring filmmakers, or probably these are the short filmmakers this is probably their first film, so we want to make sure that we're going to take care of them. We connect with the local government units who's going to be taking where they're going to be located, and we want to make sure that even if they conduct these shoots amid this situation, that they're safe, because that's very, very important for us.
Sir Chris, Mama Don, and Direct Ed, please indulge me for a while. One last question for Chair Liza, because this is important, no? Chair, because ang mga regional filmmakers natin is not of the same level as the studios, no, or ang mga big companies, and some of them nagsushoot mag-isa. Sa dalawa lang sila, sa bahay lang nila, ang mga artista nila, nanay nila, for example. So I understand that there are protocols and all these mga na-set natin sa industry. How does this affect yung ating mga filmmakers that are shooting alone or na hindi pasok baga sa mainstream na standards? Because may mga rule doon na pag 50 ang tao ganito, pag 70 ang tao ganito, ang sagot ng filmmaker, dalawa lang kami. How do we address this, Chair?
Okay, so the health and safety protocols are guidelines, and this was created to support the reopening of the industry. So if you're going to check the coverage of this guidelines, it's really for industries to open, for businesses, for companies. But this is also a guide for those who are not necessarily a business or a company, so that they can understand what needs to be done in order for them to be safe while they are doing their shoots. We came up with safe filming guidelines for small crews. We also had a talk with some of the regional filmmakers, and one of their concerns is how can we be trained as safety training officers, because in the regions it's not really something that's has become a norm. They don't even know that it's required for production, especially those professional ones, especially those big ones, to have a safety training, to have an occupational safety and health officer as part of the production. So we're extending that support. We have a mechanism where we can give training fees for those who are interested to go through the occupational safety and health training with the OSH Center of Dole.
Thank you, Chair. kasi ang oras natin maiksi lamang, so hindi ako pwedeng maka-ask ng further questions. Baka pagalitan ako ni Direk Ed Lehano. So, I'll go to Miss Madonna. Miss Madonna,
Yes.
let's go to film distribution and exhibition and engagement. How does Cine Filipino help filmmakers as far as film distribution and exhibition now that the current tide is changing?
Well, what used to be the norm was we tap certain cinemas who are very friendly to independent films, and we program our films there for a week. So our strategy the last time was for the feature length to be in commercial cinemas, and then for the short films to be in micro cinemas or special
Mm.
screens. Because
Mm.
they have parang a better audience in terms of engagement when we bring them to screens. But this year, we are actually really planning on how to go about it. Just like you, cinema, we're waiting. What will be the decision of the cinemas? Are they going to open? Because if they will open, then we will have to select the cinemas who will welcome us and program our films there. Then at the same time, I think what is viable is to have an online platform together with the theatrical screen. I think that's
Mhm.
where we are. That's where the discussions are. In as far
Right.
as helping them out, I think that's the very best. Because as I said earlier, we also have to consider that they're not only working on the grants that we give them, they also look for other producers so that they can add money to their production. So there has to be that part where we consider recoupment on the side of the filmmakers. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng wala. Hindi pwedeng hindi namin yun
Mm.
i-offer. So we are actually reviewing the rights that we share with the filmmakers during
Mm.
this pandemic. How can they actually recover? We're looking at that. We're at that stage. We're also thinking of, can we actually cover some of the expenses now that we have to consider safety protocols? No, there are COVID
Mm.
related expenses when you start shooting. It's not enough that you just show up, even if you're just a small crew, and not follow all the protocols that the government has set. It can't be. So we are at that stage. So that is
Mm.
where the help is coming from. So the minute that
Mm.
we have decided, we'll probably announce by next week how we're going to go about it. The minute that we decide, then we cascade that to the filmmakers. But we are in constant communication with them. Because some of them
Mhm.
want to finish their films. Eh ako naman parang, okay, let's just wait for the decision as to where the distribution is going to happen and how we can cover the COVID-related expenses. And then you can start shooting. So
Mm.
that's where we're
Thank
at.
you. Thank you, Ms. Madonna. Sir Chris, yung ating Cinemalaya is a unique linkage with many other platforms, including TFC and I Want TV. And I understand that during this Cinemalaya, itong year na edition, you have been also linking filmmakers that you program to this mga online platforms and channels. Would you like to discuss more about that, please?
Yes. Well, the unique learning that we had from migrating online with this festival is that practically the platform wasn't only a festival platform, but it also gave us a taste of how it is to distribute in an online platform. So
Mm.
it was serendipitous because TFC and I Want approached us with their interest because in the past they wouldn't be as interested in distributing our content online, but
Yes,
this
yes.
time they were. So in fact, it was also very helpful that they wanted to pair it and bundle it with more commercial titles so as to drive
Mm.
interest to the short films. And honestly, it didn't do as well on both I Want
Mm.
and TFC compared to Cinemalaya in terms of the kind of revenue. I guess it tells us in terms of the kind of education and awareness that we still need to do, especially in overseas communities.
Yeah.
Distribution wise, we learned that there could perhaps be a festival run of Cinemalaya and possibly a post festival run which focuses on specific titles, but focuses specifically on revenue maximizing revenue potential for the filmmakers. With the aid of, I'm sure you very well know about this in online, of geotagging, we can practically sort of shape the market. So we did that for this year's Cinemalaya, where the festival run for 2 or 3 weeks was geotagged only in the Philippines locally, and then again it was geotagged in the Asian region, and then it was geotagged internationally. So there was sort of like an expanding market for it. Of course, it's quite another thing how we should begin to communicate this globally. We succeeded in communicating it to our local national Philippine audiences, but not as, I guess, not as successful in communicating it to overseas Filipinos as well as international audiences.
Thank you, Sir Chris. Direct Ed, I'm looking at you when Chair Liza was saying something, and then I could see in your face that you want to add to that. Ano ba yung kanina? Parang there was talking about support for filmmakers. Is that it?
Yes. In these challenging times, we keep hearing that phrase, no? We all know that our industry has been hard hit by this COVID, and a lot of projects stopped filming starting March, no? And because of that, we're launching some initiatives from QCinema to help these filmmakers. We will be announcing this week our QCinema COVID Completion Fund for feature films that have been affected, where they had to stop shooting last March, but they're practically finished. So it's really a completion fund. So watch out for those initiatives from QCinema. 2 weeks ago, we already launched QC Short Shorts. It's a fun competition for everyone. You can shoot with your cell phone, or you can do Zoom Cinema. We give 60,000 for a bunch of winners. So it's fun to present the lighter side of quarantine life. And then come November, we'll be doing some industry benefits for our respective film organizations, maybe with a small donation from QCinema, since we're redirecting our funds to these initiatives instead of film production for this year. Pero sana wag natin pagkalimutan na the film festival experience, I can't help but be nostalgic about it. Film festivals is an essential part in the ecosystem of cinema that cannot be replicated by the online experience. So hopefully, naman natin ma-cancel out ang festival screenings. Let's go back to theaters when it's safe to do so with the proper protocols, because that is the lifeblood of the industry.
I could feel you, Ed. I could really feel you from your screen. Because one thing I'm sure everybody will agree with me when I say that one of the things that we miss from actual face-to-face meeting is the warmth of people. No, we can't do this in front of the computer screens. I mean, even if we do this virtual hugs or these smiles, iba pa rin yung nakikita mo yung mga tao, may katabi kang tumatawa, kumakain ka ng popcorn, may nag-iingay dyan na filmmaker sa likod na sinasaway mo na during the screening. So this is really, all this we miss. I'll have the last round of questions before I go to the questions from our audience. Ang tanong na wala sa ating is a curious question. Did you notice any difference sa content ng mga films natin during the pandemic? I go first with Sir Chris because nauna na yung Cinemalaya. May nag-change ba sa mga content ng mga filmmakers? Are they more aggressive now? Are they more in the mood to shoot? Because, hindi na sila makakapunta kung saan-saan. What have you noticed sa mga content ng mga films during the pandemic and during these times? Sir Chris.
Well, please remember na a lot of the titles, or most, or 90% of the titles we created in Cinemalaya were produced before the pandemic. So it didn't have any notion of the pandemic. So I can't say if these films that we carried reflected the energy and the anxiety and really reflected the times. But there were two or three titles that were produced during
Yeah.
the quarantine period. And what was very interesting in them was how it tried to engage and grapple and experiment with little screens like we have right now.
Yes.
And look at this as the vocabulary and the language for narrative. So that was one thing, and so in terms of form, that was that, and you could see how they tried to sort of go beyond and make it work. So there were two or three titles that specifically were done like that, but I think the specific content that deals with the energy of these times yet have to emerge.
Miss Madonna, are you tired of the 4 screens daily? Yung nakikita mo sa Zoom araw-araw.
It can be very tiring kasi your voice and your listening skills, you have to compensate for not being in front of the person anyway. For Cine Filipino, all the scripts that we chose were pre-pandemic. Now that the pandemic is upon us and the quarantine is there, what is happening now is the filmmakers are revisiting their scripts, especially those who have not shot or completed, and reviewing how they can adapt to the present protocols, to the present situation, so that they can still continue to shoot. If at all, if there's one thing that this pandemic has actually given us, I think it's the value of creativity. I think everybody now values creativity more than ever. Yung the ability to actually tell a story in whatever environment or situation you are in. Kasi that's what a storyteller is for, right? You create the narrative in the situation that you are actually either observing, experiencing. So, nandun sila sa stage na yun. And I speak for not only the festivals, but I think the entertainment industry as well, di ba? Na hinahasa ngayon ang ating mga para mas maging creative, para mas maging resourceful, para mas maging maingat, para makapagtrabaho talaga lahat. I think that is, if there is something that's good that came out of this entire experience, para sa akin, it's really yung being more creative and being more collaborative. So, yun.
Sa'yo, Direct Ed, because you mentioned about yung, sabi mo kanina, was it short, similarly ata to sa Cinemalaya din, no? Parang, now they can shoot mga Zoom and all that. Have you already seen the entries?
No,
Not yet.
All for entries for finished films with a deadline in October. So,
there you go.
gagawin ko lang nila it's open to the public.
Oh, so I'm sure marami ito. Mga 4 screens, mga Johari Window 1, Johari Window 2, Johari Window 3.
But I hope it won't encourage a new genre of lockdown cinema na Zoom conversations lang. I mean, I'm not against that, but
Yeah.
I can't
Hindi
wait
naman puro
for-
ganun lang. Yeah. Thank you, Direct Ed. I'll go to Chair Liza because you mentioned about Cinemalaya kanina na delay. Was that delay helpful or did that add to nag-change ba sila ng mga contest sa script? Nagkaroon ba ng mga additional acts ang mga films?
So, Cinemalaya projects are like 2 years in the making because there were so many. They had a lot of time. If there's one thing that was given to them, even if this is something that was like forced on them because the problem was on our end, the technical problems in terms of like the government partnership, because this is an interagency thing. So ang hirap pala talaga whenever you work with as an interagency in terms of where do you get the funds, who's gonna release the funds. So it became a challenge for us. But if there's one thing that really benefited on the benefit of the filmmakers is that they were able to revisit their projects, their films. They were able to fine tune their stories, and it really reflected on the final output. Sir Ed was there when we were
Oh,
deliberating. Oops, we were deliberating on the 12 submissions, and we were really amazed because most of them are first time filmmakers.
mm,
The Cinemalaya is a short film festival on different stories of women, different stories of women empowerment, different stories of women from the different regions, and nakakatuwa because it's so indigenous, it's so local to where they're from. We had a good representation of filmmakers from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So we're very excited about this lineup of films together with the rest of the PPP films because PPP films, PPP 2020 is, I think right now we're already on 100 plus films already, from full feature to short films. We're so excited because we're really going back to their roots. The curation is really, there's going to be something for everyone. And one good thing about PPP is this is also our a pledge of support to our producers. So FDCP is taking nothing, like zero revenue on this. Every the money the money that's going to be gathered, or the revenue is going to be shared among the full feature films. We're giving
mm.
honoraria, we're giving financial support to all of the short films na part ng PPP this year. So lahat meron.
Pinag-iisipan pa ni Direk Noel ang aming ipapapadala. Kasi parang tatlo lang daw eh. So parang sige,
I
let's see.
know! But as it is, we have, I think, 60 already from the
Oh.
regional films. So we're so excited. Sobra.
Thank you, Chair. Now we are accepting questions from our viewers. No, we have the first question here. To the festivals, if eventually theaters become allowed by next year or maybe this year, would any of you consider sticking to online platforms still, or will you be exploring mixed platforms of exhibition? Who would like to answer that? Gusto ko yung pause. May pause. Yes, Direk. Ed.
Mix.
Because of our experience in this 2020 period, parang I think the online option is here to stay. But having said that, this pandemic has also made the expression Netflix and chill parang nakakapagod na rin. So at one hand, it's there as an option for certain titles. We still look forward to the old normal of having popcorn, watching in a dark screen with complete strangers, and giving immediate feedback, sometimes standing ovation to undiscovered gems that only a theatrical experience can provide.
Yeah.
Yung
Yeah.
early morning screening experience of watching Parasite in Cannes last year, we were one of the first people to watch it, and watching its journey to an Oscar victory. My God, it's something that it's immemorable. It's something you cannot forget. And even if you watch something online, you still want to watch it on the big screen to make it more impactful. So sana in the years to come, we still proceed with those twin options in theatrical and online.
How about Cine Filipino and Cinemalayas, Chair? You want to go first?
Yeah, because this past 4 days of film industry conference was such a revelation for us. FIC is actually attached to PPP. So as we in the same time at the same time that we screen PPP, simultaneously we do FIC. And with this virtual version online, the last 3 days we already have more than around 1,700 attendees in all of our panel sessions, and it was really a pleasant surprise for us. And this is also probably one of the reasons why we're considering having a mixed platform for next year, because for this year we had attendees coming from Sri Lanka, Vietnam, UK. We had Australians and attendees from different parts of the world participate in the conference. So that was really a revelation for us that hopefully we can imbibe, and we can integrate for next year's festival.
Because I still have questions here. Can I briefly ask Ms. Madonna and Sir Chris regarding sa platform kanina? Do you go mixed platform or do you go back to theaters?
Well, with
Ms.
regard,
Madonna.
sorry, Madonna, yes.
Mixed platform, I think, is good, because nothing, for me, if you're watching a film, nothing beats the cinema experience, no matter what we say. Okay, I mean, I watch VODs all the time. I watch online, but it's still different when you have, when you go to a theater and you kind of lose yourself in the experience of watching a film. That's different. So I will go for mix. There will always be something for online. I think, just like what Chair Liza said, no, yung mga webinars, yung mga conferences. I think that's good. Short films, I think the digital platform lends itself very well to the format. But for me, feature length has to be appreciated in the cinema. At least kahit for a short period, and then it's migrated to digital, that's fine. For as long as people can experience that. But we need to go really and find that safety net, no, for everybody to want to go back to the theater.
Thank you. Sir Chris? Sir Chris? I'll go back to Sir Chris in a while. We go to question number 2, no? Ayun na, nag-login ulit si Sir Chris. No, Sir Chris, you wanted to...
Yeah. Well, what I was about to say, now there's nothing like screening your film at the 2,000-seater CCP main theater. I think the CCP main theater somehow is parang the last remaining experience na closest to the movie palaces of before.
Yeah.
Right? So it has
Yes.
that kind of magnitude, no? And it also has, can you imagine also the number of people who like stream out of the theater after the show and mingling with each other. And I think this is what Madonna and Ed and Liza share in terms of the kind of community that we lose when we do it online exclusively. So definitely plan A of Cinemalaya for next year is going back to live theaters. But as Ed said, online is here to stay. So definitely plan A is live with online distribution, selected online screening. Plan B, if still the situation doesn't allow us to, would be exclusively online.
Thank you, Sir Chris. We have a question here, and this is very, very important. No? As a current grantee, our story was created before pandemic with the idea of filming in a COVID-free setting. And this is a worry of all filmmakers. No? It worries me and a lot of filmmakers that they have children characters. And we cannot shoot all adults, no? So what advice would you suggest to really make sure that they are safe? And how do we go about with restrictions on having them in a public space? Direct Ed. Parang teacher ako, I like this. No? Parang may nag-raise hand, tapos may sumasagot. I like it.
It feels good to be a
Now
pupil
under
again.
me. I'll give you a grade. Oh.
Okay. But please don't
Sige,
spank
Direct
me.
Ed.
Yeah, I mean, there are concepts that it will be a challenge to scale down, and that includes shooting in a reality that was before COVID. So it's really hard to fit a big thing in a smaller hole, and that's what exactly her dilemma is. And I I suggest to give it uh, a deeper thought, because if it's a small film, you make it into a bigger film. That's easy. If it's a small film, you make it into a bigger film. That's good. But if it's a big film, you make it into a smaller film. It's challenging. And so, for new filmmakers out there, do not deny that COVID existed or exists. It's here. It's a reality. You can put that into your script. You can put that in your production strategies, into your timetable. And kung may vaccine na, pwede nang palakihin, then it's easier to adjust the production accordingly. Does
Would
that
you like
answer
to
your
comment?
question?
Well, of course, I cannot go against you. Do you want me to give a grade? I'll go to Chair Lisa. Chair, you were racing. I'll go to you. Yung sound ni Chair?
Hi.
Yes.
Okay. I share the sentiment of Sir Ed, no? Kasi talagang what we're experiencing right now, we have to err on the side of caution. We have to always prioritize safety. We always have to prioritize safety. If that's something, if that story that you feel you should share and you must tell, can wait. Maybe you want to delay it if you don't want to compromise any of your ideas or the concept that you already have pre-COVID. Maybe this is a way for you to create new ones. And because of that, FDCP is launching, sorry, segue, is launching, is launching Create PH Films. This is a Philippine cinema funding program to support the filmmakers who are going through that creativity. They're creatively challenged right now. They're feeling this stress, and they're worried. What are they going to do, because they can't go out, but they want to create. So this is a funding for our filmmakers from development to distribution. So we'll be giving support fund for development at 100,000 pesos for 10 projects this year, 200,000 for projects in development, 1 million each for 10 projects as a co-production fund, and 2 projects will be given 3 to 5 million pesos if your projects are big budget, like 15 million and above. We're also giving 5 projects 300,000 pesos in support in their post-production expenses, and another 300,000 for marketing. Another 5 projects that will be given 300,000 for their marketing and distribution support. So this is something that the FDCP has created, and hopefully somehow we can help our filmmakers to continue creating. This is around 25 million that we're giving we're providing our industry for this year to support them in their situation.
Sir Chris, do you have something to add to that?
Yes, I agree completely with the points that were raised. In fact, that's the reason why we had to postpone the production of 3 competition films for next year, because we conversed with the filmmakers, and the success of the storytelling hinged on a situation that will definitely is outside of protocol, meaning use of a senior citizen paired with a minor, or crowd scenes that would require 100 people. So it's really impossible. And it's not marginal to the story. It was central to the storytelling. So we had advised that it be postponed for a later year.
Miss Madonna?
I agree with the 3, Chair, Ed, and Sir Chris. I agree with all their points, because if it's really integral to the story, then I don't think you want to change that just because you can delay it. you can revisit your script and see if you can actually produce it. But if it's integral, I don't think you can. So you can wait a while, and then maybe just have another movie in your mind if you want to park that and wait until you can shoot, and then maybe you can start on something else. Because right now, really, the loss of the land must be valued for the safety of everyone. And even in, hindi lang naman pelikula yan eh, kahit naman sa ads, sa TV, sa commercials, lahat yan kailangan sundin.
Okay, the last two questions, I'll give a good grade if you give a good answer na very short lang because I'm running out of time. So, we have here two questions. Pwede nyo masagot by yes or no and then something else no. Given the already dwindling turnout of theater viewership, even before the pandemic, do you think that after this, audiences will still go back to cinemas? Maybe yes, thumbs up, no, ayaw. How about that? You think they'll go back to cinemas? Let's see. Paano vote nyo? Say thumbs up kung sa tingin nyo babalik pa ang mga tao or ganon pag hindi na? Yeah, why not, no?
Cool!
Oh, yeah, di
I
ba?
think more than anything, we're gonna miss it. I
Yeah.
miss going to the cinemas. I'm sure lahat. That's the first thing siguro na gagawin when everything is safe na, no? Watch in the cinemas.
Namimiss ko ang mga takilyera, no? I miss them, seeing them yung mga pagbibigay ng ticket and all that. Last question. What would you advise to filmmakers and producers in the audience out there who are looking forward to making their films and entering them to your festival? I'll go with Sir Chris, Cinemalaya.
Well, Cinemalaya, remember, Cinemalaya, the cycle is 2 years. So you can practically now think of a film that will be shot and maybe produced in 2022, for submission. So I guess it's safe to imagine now a film that is post-COVID in 2022. So one thing to remember is just go back to the dreams, to your cinematic dreams, especially if you think of submitting to Cinemalaya, since you will have that kind of window to develop and anticipate the new normal, as it were.
More brief than that, Miss Madonna.
More than that. Never discount any of your dreams, because everything in this world is temporary. Where if it's uncertain today, 2021, 2022, it's going to be different. So keep doing what you want to do. Keep writing the story. Keep filming, because that's the only way this industry is going to work.
Sige nga, Ed, shorter than that.
It feels authentic and it's cheap to produce.
I 100. Chair Lisa, how do you outdo that? Only 4 words.
Twitter na ba to?
Platforms serve its purpose. Join.
Oh, di ba? Na-outdo ka eh. Tatlo lang yon. So with that, we would like to thank our panelists. I hope you were able to get something from out of our discussions, and we hope to answer more of your questions. Pero we're pressed for time. I want to believe it was a very wonderful discussion. Let's have another brief round to say goodbye to our guests. Let me start off with Ma'am Madonna.
Well, thank you for being with us. Thank you also to FDCP Chair Liza, and then our co-panelists, Chris and Ed. Watch out for more announcements on Cine Filipino, and we're here to stay and wait it out until we get to tell all your stories.
Thank you, Ma'am Madonna Tarrayo, Festival Director of Cine Filipino. I'll go to you, Direct Ed.
Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Elvert and Chair Liza, for this wonderful panel. And if you love movies, let's go back to the theater soon with social distancing and safety protocols. And watch out for QCinema in November.
Thank you, Direct Ed, Festival Director of QCinema. I'll go with the Festival Director of Cinemalaya, Sir Chris Millado.
Keep telling your stories and keep supporting our storytellers.
Well said. Thank you very much, sir. And of course, our FDCP and CEO Chair, Chair Liza.
So, tuloy na tuloy po ang Pista sa October. PPP4, sama all.
O, di ba yun lang? Gusto ko sana mag-suggest ng programa para sa FDCP, masahe sa mga filmmakers dahil wala akong masahe ngayon. So, baka pwede kayong gumawa ng ganun. Tapos naka-lockdown lang yung mga massage, yung mga masseurs and masseuse. But anyway, thank you very much for all that, Chair Liza, Ma'am Madonna, Sir Chris, and Direct Ed Lehano. There are still more panels sa ating film industry conference, and it will still last for the whole week. So thank you very much on behalf of FDCP. I'd like to just remind everybody that the pandemic is the time for us also to tell stories and to support our filmmakers. I hope that after the pandemic, we don't forget our little filmmakers na nag-save din sa atin during this pandemic. So, maraming salamat. Shout out lang ako kina G and all the FDCP staff who've been wonderful to me. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang pelikulang Filipino.
Thank you, Elvert.
Time to wave, guys.
Thank you very much to our film festival directors, Sir Ed, Sir Chris, Miss Madonna, and Chair Liza, and of course, to Sir Elvert for moderating this very insightful session that gave us access to your views and plans given the pandemic and how we are going to be moving forward. To our audience, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Should you have more questions, please share them to us so we can provide them to our speakers after this session. As always, please let us know your thoughts by clicking on the survey link in our chat box. Again, this is the Film Industry Conference Online 2020. Thank you very much. Keep safe and see you at our next session.
Thank you very much to our panelists and moderator for a very engaging discussion. Thank you to our dear audience as well for tuning in. We hope to see you in our next sessions. For more details on FIC, please check social media accounts on Facebook, www.facebook.com/filmindustryconferenceph, Twitter @FICPH1, and Instagram @FilmIndustryConferencePH. Check out the full lineup of public sessions and master classes for this year's Film Industry Conference. Visit our website at fdcp.ph/FIC.